What do you think we learned from the Putin-Tucker interview?
Well, it shows me what I think we've all known. He's what's called a useful idiot.
Is Tucker Carlson a free thinker whose views change over time?
And why do I feel guilty like I'm betraying my country for saying that? I'm not. I love America. This is a really nice city, and I don't care. It's true.
Or merely a puppet of the establishment, whose only role is to divide the left and right?
What do you think about Russia?
Oh, I've really enjoyed it. I think this city is really pretty.
Or perhaps a puppet of foreign powers, or even more nefarious forces. For most of his adult life, Tucker was a registered Democrat.
I, by the way, am a Democrat. And you are? Yes, I am. I in fact, am a registered Democrat. And I wouldn't vote for Al Gore.
Which surprises most who see him as a conservative or Republican pundit, despite him only switching to the Republican Party in 2020. Despite being a registered Democrat, Tucker often didn't align with the mainstream left, nor was he seeking their approval, but he has never fallen squarely into the mainstream right either. Instead, he is known for asking tough questions and challenging his guests, most notably while representing the conservative viewpoint as a host on CNN's Crossfire, a debate show featuring guests from both sides of the political spectrum. But why is Tucker Carlson facing so much criticism? What exactly is his relationship with Putin? His stance on the Black Lives Matter movement? Or jab mandates? Is he being targeted by the woke movement? To determine whether he's a patriot or a puppet, we need to understand who he truly is. Tucker Carlson's connection to the West Coast runs deep, like the mighty redwood trees. Born in San Francisco in May 1969, he arrived during the peak of the 60s excesses and the rise of conservative reactions to the counterculture and civil rights movement. His mother, Lisa McNear Lombardi, came from one of California's esteemed frontier families, while his father, Dick Carlson, shifted from a gonzo reporter to hold significant roles like Director of Voice of America and U.S. Ambassador to the Seychelles. It's clear that Tucker came from a well-established and influential family background. In 1976, his parents' marriage soured, leading to divorce. His father gained custody of Tucker and his brother, while his mother left for France, never to be seen again by her sons. At 14, Tucker journeyed across the country to attend St. George's School in Middletown, Rhode Island. Known for catering to children of affluent East Coast families, the school provided Tucker with an environment rich in opportunity, complete with dormitories named after industry giants and sprawling athletic grounds. Following college, Tucker aimed to join the CIA, but his application was rejected, leaving him disheartened. However, from adversity emerged opportunity, as his father encouraged him to pursue journalism. Thus, a new chapter began for Tucker, a journey that would lead him to make his mark in the field of journalism. But when it comes to his style, is it true hard-hitting journalism, or is he just a tool used to divide? Over the years, Tucker's bold approach knew no bounds. He fearlessly posed tough questions to anyone, including presidential candidate George W. Bush in 2000. During their interview, Tucker criticized Bush, accusing him of mocking a woman who was executed in Texas. While Democrats praised Tucker for his boldness, some questioned if their appreciation was genuine or simply because Bush was his target. And his way of reporting kept going strong. CNN showed his devising way of doing things, reaching a high point during a famous talk with Jon Stewart in October 2004. Stewart, comedian and host of The Daily Show, came on Crossfire to talk about his book America. But instead, Stewart criticized Crossfire, saying it wasn't good for political talk in the U.S. He specifically named his criticism at Carlson, accusing him of being biased. Tucker defended the show, saying it was just a healthy discussion and a way for people to learn about the news and presidential candidates. But Stewart had previously had presidential candidate John Kerry on his show without asking important questions about things like the Iraq War, the war on terrorism, the economy, or healthcare. Tucker wondered why Stewart didn't use the chance to ask better questions, but Stewart just acted smug and didn't really respond. Their talk got more intense until Stewart called Tucker a dick right before a commercial break.
goes
You know what's
one-on-one with
interesting,
his
though?
fans.
You're as on your show as you are on any show.
I've probably asked more asshole questions than like any living American. You know, I'm, as has been noted correctly, I'm a dick.
Later, Stewart apologized, not to Tucker, but to dicks for comparing them to Tucker Carlson. Over the years, Tucker has taken on an even more controversial approach. From 2010 to 2020, Tucker led the Daily Caller, a conservative news outlet. He purportedly told his team to focus on important stories rather than ideology. This reflects Tucker's approach, asking big questions and exploring where they lead. Regarding Tucker's stance on Trump, many label him as a staunch supporter, accusing him of promoting divisive narratives. But in 2021, a New York Times reporter revealed Tucker's critical stance on Trump, quoting him as saying, "I hate him passionately." Additionally, Tucker expressed concerns about Fox News' loss of credibility. These revelations raise questions. Is Tucker truly aligned with Trump, or is he strategically navigating his support, anticipating Trump's potential as the 2024 Republican nominee? We'll talk more about these topics, especially delving into Tucker's interactions with Putin and the events of January 6th. But before we do, let's take a closer look at Fox News and cancel culture. Between 2009 and 2023, Tucker held the spotlight as the host of Fox News' primetime lineup. With consistently high ratings, his show often ranked at the top of cable news. Tucker didn't shy away from controversial topics, openly criticizing the Black Lives Matter movement and illegal immigration. This stance led to dozens of advertisers pulling their ads from Fox. Despite this, his show, Tucker Carlson Tonight, remained unaffected by the ratings drop that followed Joe Biden's inauguration in 2021 for many other mainstream and Fox News shows. In April 2023, Tucker's show was unexpectedly taken off Fox News' nightly lineup. Even Tucker was caught off guard, as he bid farewell like he did each Friday with a promise to return the following week. The decision to fire Tucker and cancel his show has been attributed to what some considered a racist text to a Fox producer as he responded to an incident involving Trump supporters assaulting an Antifa member. In his commentary, Tucker condemned the attack, stating, "Jumping a guy is dishonorable, obviously. That's not how white people fight." He expressed discomfort with the violence and his own response when he found himself rooting for the Trump supporters, hoping they would hit him harder and admitting, "This is not good for me to see." Was this alone the reason Tucker got the boot from Fox News? Or could it have been his story about Dominion voting machines, which he and others alleged were caught rigging the 2020 election? That story cost Fox a whopping $787 million in a lawsuit lost to Dominion. I am sure management was not happy seeing that bill. Maybe it was texts where Tucker used some pretty crude language to describe people in management. Perhaps Tucker's exit from Fox News has thrown him into the limelight, drawing attention from old adversaries. Could this be why cartoons are now portraying him as Putin's puppet? What's the deal with Tucker and Putin? Is there some hidden backstory we're missing? Or is this just another attempt to discredit him? Despite Tucker's recent interview with Russian President Vladimir Putin, he has never been known to be a fan of Putin. Back in 2005, while working at MSNBC, Tucker criticized Russia for its strict rules and was appalled when Time magazine named Putin its Person of the Year in 2007. During the Iraq War, Tucker criticized President George W. Bush for trusting Putin and even made fun of Bush for being too friendly with the Russian president. Tucker says he wanted to interview Putin to give Americans a different view on the war between Russia and Ukraine, saying it's important to understand what's happening globally from all sides. However, other news organizations say Tucker isn't the only Western journalist who tried to interview Putin, and he's faced criticism for the interview. Despite this, Tucker says he is a strong advocate of freedom of speech and press, and his supporters defend his right to do the interview, despite even his lawyers warning him he could be arrested for asking certain questions of Putin. With tens of millions of views, Tucker Carlson's interview with Putin has stirred up a lot of discussion. Even Elon Musk weighed in on the matter. Republican Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene praised Tucker, saying, "We have a free press in this country, and it's people like Tucker Carlson who we depend on to speak the truth." Adding fuel to the fire, journalist Glenn Greenwald defended the Tucker Carlson-Putin interview, arguing that interviewing adversaries is a vital aspect of journalism. He pointed to CNN's past interviews with figures like Osama bin Laden and Saddam Hussein as examples. In a similar vein, NBC's Keir Simmons conducted a noteworthy interview with Putin back in June 2021 amidst tensions surrounding Russia's annexation of Crimea. During the Tucker-Putin conversation, Carlson felt Putin was evading questions about Russia's history with Ukraine. Towards the end, he even pressed Putin on the imprisonment of American journalist Evan Gershkovich, asking Putin to release Gershkovich and allow Tucker to bring him home. Putin declined to release him, instead suggesting a prisoner swap, which Tucker said he couldn't negotiate. So was Tucker once a tool of the establishment, or have his views just grown and changed with time? His views on other issues may bring more clarity. Tucker has compared jab mandates imposed by Joe Biden's government to medical experiments conducted by Nazi Germany and Imperial Japan. "I thought that we had a kind of consensus," said Carlson. "I mean, after watching what the Imperial Japanese Army and the Nazis did in their medical experiments, I thought that American physicians agreed that compulsory medical care was unethical. It was immoral, and it could never be imposed on anyone. When did we forget that?" One of his guests, virologist Dr. Robert Malone, said, "Apparently about a year ago, I think yesterday," a reference to Biden's inauguration on January 20, 2021, when we must have forgotten that, despite candidate Biden prior to his election making clear statements that he wasn't going to force the jabs. Carlson's exchange with Malone came on the day a judge in Texas blocked the Biden administration's jab mandate for federal employees. The White House said 98% of such employees had been jabbed or were seeking a religious or medical exemption, and added that it was confident it had the legal authority to impose the mandate in question. Earlier this month, the Supreme Court blocked a mandate for large businesses but allowed a requirement for healthcare facilities. A mandate for federal contractors was blocked by a judge in December. Carlson's comparison of mandates to tortures inflicted by totalitarian regimes came not long after a Fox News contributor, Lara Logan, compared Biden's chief medical advisor, Anthony Fauci, to the Nazi doctor Josef Mengele. In other controversial topics, Tucker also reported on January 6th, exposing how the mainstream media told the story. CNN, MSNBC, ABC News, and even most Democrat politicians claimed it to be a deadly insurrection. They even pointed to the death of Capitol Police Officer Brian Sicknick as proof. Sicknick, a Trump supporter, was seen on Capitol security footage walking around the rotunda with a helmet on after he was supposed to have been killed by a blow to the head with a fire extinguisher. Most of these news outlets got their story from the New York Times, which claimed Sicknick was killed by the mob, what now appears, as reported by Tucker and other independent journalists, as 2,000 mostly non-violent protesters led by a guy in a silly water buffalo hat. The New York Times later retracted their story about Sicknick's death. However, Tucker Carlson had been saying this all along and never got any credit for it. And Brian Sicknick, it was later reported, died of natural causes, according to the medical examiner. But Tucker doesn't stop there. He goes even deeper into the January 6 story, reporting on the thousands of hours of security footage from that day that haven't been shown to the public. Most people don't even realize the footage was hidden, and a lot of those supposed insurrectionists are now being shown. Many were just wandering around the Capitol like they were tourists, taking selfies and checking out the statues and paintings. Tucker Carlson is also not a neocon warhawk like many like to claim. In 2003, he was persuaded by his colleagues at the Weekly Standard to support the Iraq War. However, by 2004, he had changed his tune. Shortly before his departure from Fox News, Tucker also hosted one of the few anti-war Democrats these days, Tulsi Gabbard, and both expressed reservations about involving themselves in the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Tucker suggests that the Biden administration might be eager for this conflict, while Gabbard alleges that some within the administration actually desire Russia's invasion of Ukraine, as it benefits the military-industrial complex. Although their views may not be widely accepted in Washington, Trump's election demonstrates that criticizing warmongering and globalist agendas resonates with many Americans, highlighting the public's distrust of establishment figures. While Washington's military-industrial complex may not have directly orchestrated Russia's invasion of Ukraine, it's worth noting that many of President Biden's top foreign policy advisors have ties to consulting firms and think tanks funded by defense contractors. And it's a known fact that Ukraine has always been a red line for Russia since Nazi Germany came through Ukraine to attack Russia during World War II. This lack of intellectual honesty and transparency raises ethical questions that few politicians address. Many claim Tucker leans toward isolationism. He's spoken out against Nikki Haley and Ben Shapiro, fearing their support of foreign wars. However, Tucker says he does not want America continuing to add to the deficit to fight wars that provide no benefit to Americans, are not the fight for good versus evil they are claimed, and could put his own draft-aged children in danger. So it seems that Tucker is often labeled as a puppet by his opponents who dislike his style of pro-journalism. But will this criticism detract his followers? Will he continue to get in trouble for speaking about controversial issues like those above, or even sharing missed reporting surrounding George Floyd's death, where he reported that the medical examiner says Floyd did not have life-threatening injuries? Or how many claim Floyd died of years of drug use and other factors, not strangulation by Derek Chauvin, who now sits in jail as part of what Tucker implies is a political witch hunt being used to divide Americans? Tucker also brings up valid points made by controversial figures such as former President Trump and independent presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. about avoiding foreign wars, both of whom have faced backlash for speaking out. Tucker believes that RFK is disliked simply because he challenges drug companies. He argues that these companies, along with the military-industrial complex, wield too much influence in American policy and society. Tucker says that while he is not the partisan hack some like to claim, he did admit recently on Lex Fridman's podcast that he is a bit of a dick. Americans and the world at large do need more figures that bring us together more than we need to focus on the things that divide us. Tucker can play the role of the divider at times, but it seems it comes from a place of seeking the truth and the answers to many tough questions in American and geopolitics. And more it seems his opponents don't want to engage with his views, preferring to dismiss him as a puppet instead. It seems that Tucker Carlson, love him or hate him, believes in the American experiment and is more of a free thinker than the puppet so many like to claim. If you liked this video, check out one of our videos on other controversial figures, like any of these on Andrew Tate, Elon Musk, or the PayPal mafia that launched him.